Diga. Já estamos live. Hi everyone, welcome to this new webinar from Landing.Jobs on how to improve your quality of life and working for a foreign company. The main goal that we have today is basically to try to talk a bit about this new world that is not so new, but in some way it has gained a lot of speed in the last 2 years, about the globalization, what we in Landing.Jobs call the globalization of tech work. So the removal of barriers regarding remote work and even relocation, and what are the impacts that this can have in the management of a tech talent careers. I ask you all to please put your questions and comments in the chat. You have also an ask question section below. We'll try to also interact with you, answer your questions. This will be an informal talk, okay? And please be participants as we will be. So today we have with us Ana Cunha, a talent acquisition expert from TBLX. I'll ask you all to make a brief introduction of you and your companies, okay? We have also Cassiano Shurek, or should I? Surek.
Mm-hmm.
Shurek, okay.
Shurek.
CTO at Beyond, and Isabel Costa with an English accent, lead talent acquisition from OutSystems. We think that the audience today it's mostly Spanish people. Lo siento mucho que no hablemos en español hoy, pero yo pienso que es mejor de hablar en inglés y no hacer muchas gafes que intentar de hacerlo. But please be at ease to pose your questions, to comment, to participate. The goal here is really to try to enrich everyone's knowledge to the share of the experiences and the perspectives of everyone in this webinar. Now, for a brief round of presentations, Ana, can you talk a bit about yourself, small bit, and your company?
Okay. So as you said before, and thank you, Pedro, my name is Ana. I work at TBLX as a talent acquisition expert. TBLX is a software engineering company that develops all the e-mobility services for the Daimler Truck worldwide, and all their brands worldwide as well, of course. Right now we have a team of 75 people. We are almost reaching the milestone of 80. We've been growing in a sustainable and organic way since 2018 when we were created, and we are now working in a hybrid mode, meaning that we have our offices in Lisbon. We have crazy people that go to the office every day, and we have people that go to the office one time a week, one time a month, or people that go not that often, and we have the flexibility to work from anywhere we want. I don't know if this is enough. Being the first person is always the same. So if you have more questions, you can ask me, of course.
Thank you, Ana. Cassiano, your turn.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for having me. And before I actually introduce myself, I would just like to say hi to Sarah Gorjon, who could not join us, right?
Yes.
Because of some COVID-related matters there. But so hopefully we'll catch up in due course. So I'm Cass. I am the CTO for Beyond, and we are a product design and development company. We have been going for 12 years, and we started out as with studios in Lisbon, actually in New York, in San Francisco, and in London, where I'm actually calling from now. And we soon realized that the world was changing, and we had to change the way that our collaborators, our staff, could contribute to design a better future for our clients. So what we ultimately do, we help our clients go further through design and technology. And for that, we have 160 people throughout the world, mostly US, UK, and European Union these days. And one of the main responsibilities that I have in the company is also to set up the hub that we have in Lisbon these days. So in 2020, we set up a team over there. And naturally, we had to go through a number of transformations, adaptations, and adventures in making this work in this beautifully distributed world. So more on that to come, but thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, really. Isabel, last but not the least, please.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Thank you, Landing, for having me, Christina, for inviting me. Feel better, Sarah. I was hoping we could be here together. Sorry, Anna, also good with you, but hopefully we can reach out to Sarah one of these days. Hola España, mi país del corazón, soy mitad española y entonces que estoy muy feliz de estar aquí.
Ah, muy bien.
It's easy for me, right? Like my grandmother was Spanish, so it's a bit easier. So I'm the lead talent acquisition for OutSystems for engineering in EMEA. For those of you who don't know OutSystems, we've been around for 20 years now. We were the first low-code platform in the world. So if you don't know about us, shame on you. We were also one of the first, or if not the first, like one of the first unicorns in Portugal. We are spread all around the globe. So we have offices in the UK, Boston, Singapore, Bangalore, Melbourne, Dublin. So yeah, it's grown quite a bit right now. It's a fantastic multinational team, and for us, remote is like natural, right? There is no other way to do this. So I'm so happy to be here to like give everyone our perspective on how to do this and like how to keep saying while working remote in these days. Thank you so much.
Right. Thank you, Isabel. So now let's start with the round of questions. I'm going to pose all of you, okay? And let's, make this not necessarily just a one-person answer, but let's try to have the perspectives of everyone. And I would say that probably the biggest question that a lot of these talents have today is, how does this thing work, okay, I have known the traditional tech career, going to the office, having a regular job at a company in my country or in my city, but things have changed, right? And things have changed in a very high pace during the last 2 years. And people sometimes have this thing about, okay, but if I go and work for a company that's not quite the traditional way of working, how will that make me better in terms of my life, my work, my salary even? How do you see this? So this perspective of people to change a bit the traditional way of working, even if we are talking about the tech world and we are focusing on that. What would you say to someone who asks you, for example, but what are the benefits and also the menaces, right? The things that can go wrong if I, for example, go to work remotely for a company across borders. Who wants to start? No one.
Well,
Cassiano.
I can kick off.
Cassiano is up here,
Okay,
on my screen.
Okay.
So is it me to go then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So I think it's we have gone through quite a considerable transformation worldwide that's changed the perspective of how to engage with companies. So back in the day, it was about going into the office, clocking in, working with your colleagues, and then clocking out. And whilst that was a viable and possible experience back then, it's no longer the case. And I think what happens these days is that with the advent of globalization, with the infrastructure that we have as well, this means that people can work from pretty much anywhere where there's a good internet connectivity, right, in our world. Right? So firstly, there's an element of this, right, in order then for people to be able to work remotely, then there's infrastructure, right, to be able to ensure that you have connectivity that will ensure that you can engage with your colleagues then remotely. But also it opens up so much in terms of possibilities. Right? You have a potentially much healthier work-life balance. Right? You have more autonomy as well as you get into this model of work. Right? But at the very heart of this, there's an element as well of working synchronously or asynchronously. Right? Which when you're coming into the office, then the work is synchronous. Everybody doing it at the same time and so forth. And that changes when you're working distributed with different time zones and projects and so forth. So I think there's this change of paradigm as of from the synchronous to the asynchronous. That for some people it comes more naturally, and others need to adapt into that modus operandi.
Okay, cool. Isabel, Anna, please, one of you.
Okay. Maybe I can go and take the topic that we were talking about, synchronously communication. For me, and in my perspective, was one of the most difficult things for us to adapt, because we were very used to talk synchronously, and we just went to the desk of our colleague if you have any question. And also the way we communicate through a message right now, it's improved a lot in these 2 years, but in the beginning, it was a challenge for us to really find our tone and the way we want to communicate. We started by having a channel that we would do something like a punch in and punch out. So good morning, I'm here, goodbye, I'm leaving. And then we realized that we didn't want to have this type of channels, because people felt obligated to be there at one time and left at 8 hours after, or say when they were coming and leaving. And I think this was one of the biggest challenges when we talk about adapting to this new world. But of course, remote work has brought us a lot of good things. One, of course, the work-life balance that we all now love and cherish every day. And also one of the things that was a challenge for I think for almost everyone that is working remotely is push ourselves to have continue to have more informal conversations, because at some point during working remotely, my conversations with my colleagues were only about work. And I know that when we were at the office, we would have more personal conversations, more informal conversations. So this was a path that we all take, and learning by our mistakes and try to continue improving. And I think now, at least I talk for TBLX, we have a good model implemented. We are always trying to improve it, of course, but it was a lot with failing and learning, and it's also one of our one of the things that we believe the most, that is failure is part of the process, and in this case it was really failure is part of the process.
Right. Thank you, Anna. Isabel, your take on this, please.
Well, Pedro, you were asking about opportunities and threats, right? What are the upsides and downsides of like remote work? I tend to believe that not everyone is made to work at home or from home, because I know that some people find it very distracting. Apart from those people, so everyone else who can cope with working home, I think that has brought us a lot of stuff. So Anna and Cassiano mentioned that we can spend more time at home, we have a better work-life balance, all of that. But I think that it also educated us, right? At the beginning of this pandemic, in OutSystems case, we were already doing a lot of remote everything because our teams are distributed. So we had no other way. Like half of us are on APAC, like a third is in APAC, a third's in Europe, a third's in the US. So we had no other option. But we were still at the office. And with the remote education, as Anna said, we learned from our mistakes, right? So we learned to have meetings that are not only for like professional purposes. In my case, in the people team, we have a virtual coffee break every morning at 10, and we are actually supposed to be having coffee and cigarettes and babies on our laps, whatever everyone has as a pleasure. And we stay there for half an hour just to talk about random stuff. Like we talk about the new shoes we bought. Yes, it's a ladies team. We talk about new shoes. We talk about a new manager who's coming. So there's also work, of course, because we cannot detach the professional part of it. But I think we learned. So I don't see as many threats right now. I think we need to keep the personal approach as much as possible. So even if we have remote teams, we should try to bring them over every now and then. And I think that most companies learned this. But I see more opportunities than threats nowadays with the remote approach.
Okay, interesting. One of the things that this globalization of tech work, at least the possibility of it brings, it's really to tap into talent from very different places. You know, we can go from Southern America, Africa, Middle East, Asia, Eastern Europe, and we're talking about obviously centered here, for example, in Western Europe. but also a lot of things that are happening. For example, here in Portugal, as far as I know, is a lot of tech talent is being contacted by companies cross borders, and I do not know exactly the reality in Spain. I'm not so aware of it. With well, very good value propositions in terms of work and in terms of salaries. It's not uncommon to have people, that are going to earn twice what they are earning just to work remote for a company in the US. This poses a lot of, it in the market, and in some way it's good for tech talent. At the same time, as you were saying, not everyone is geared towards working asynchronously and alone, especially when you're talking about working remote for a company across borders. But at the same time, it's also a very interesting perspective in terms of quality of life, in terms of salary. And I might add that, for example, we are now finishing the one report that we have gotten into this year, which is a global tech talent trends report, that says, for example, that in Portugal and Spain, Iberia, more than everywhere else in Western Europe, the main career motivation for working remotely or even relocating is salary. It's not the same in the rest of Europe. They go more for quality of life. But in Iberia, well, salary is really a thing. You are companies that have teams in Portugal, some of them working remotely, probably others not, but you also have people spread all across the world in some cases. How do you see these kind of offerings of companies that come from other countries trying to grab local talent, giving them these kind of opportunities? Do you think that this is a good thing, a bad thing, something that tech talent should be aware of? They should mind these kind of things because then they will probably have so much connection to the teams that they will be working with. This is a strange world. It's a relatively new world for a lot of people, especially tech talent, of course. And I know that a lot of them ask us, for example, but what will be the problems, or the good things in working in these kind of things, like working for a US company, a German company from Iberia?
Okay,
Can you tell? Yeah,
maybe I
please.
can start with that. I have two perspectives on this topic. The first one, as a player in the market, I love to see the market is heated, and we can find now a lot of people very talented, and it's really good to be part of this market. But on the other hand, I'm also trying to find the talent that these corporations from US, from Germany, and so on are attracting with better salaries, for example. I still think that our 360 days of sun and our amazing coast is a good leverage on this situation, but I can see, and since the end of last year and the beginning this year, the market is really going crazy, and we have to find more creative ways of attracting talent. And there are multiple types of people. Are people that are more moved by salary, are people that are more moved by family, and they prefer to stay in their country. Imagine living in Coimbra and coming to Lisbon once a month is an option. And there are a lot of different types of people, and we have to choose the types that we want to work with. And also the candidates that now have more power than ever also have this option to choose if they want to work for a higher salary and work fully remote for a US company, for example, or if they prefer to work in a Portuguese company in a hybrid model, as we have here in TBLX. And this is everything I can say about, because we don't have the fully remote teams. Maybe Cassiano or Isabel have a better approach.
But then, basically, you are feeling an extra push in terms of competition.
Oh, of course, yes, every day. I don't know if you can see my under eye bags, but this means that the market is very heated, and we have a lot of positions open and a lot of candidates on the pipeline, and we have to move faster than ever to make sure that we can keep the talent with us and hire the candidates.
Okay, great, thank you. Isabel, now Cassiano is for last, right?
Ladies first. Well, if you ask the personal Isabel, is this good? It is. It's amazing, right? It's the globe going global. There's no more geographic recruitment anymore. If you ask the recruiter Isabel, oh my God, can you stop? Like, can all the companies stop coming to Portugal because they're ruining our market and our selling events? Like, shoo, go away. But the thing is, Pedro, yes, you what you said, well, it came from a study and we also feel it. Portugal and Spain are money driven, and that's okay because our salaries are also the lowest. So no, right? It's normal. Like they are money driven. Yes, they also have the lower salary, so it's okay. But because we have offices in a lot of different places, and Landing is also helping us hire people in other countries. So thank you for that. What we see is actually that candidates will still come to us, even if we offer Spanish or Portuguese salaries, because we also hire in Spain. Regardless of having other like bigger offers for other countries. But because we're so specific, we're a product company, so some people are actually attracted to it. The fact that we are developing a product might also be attractive. And the biggest issue for us right now is not so much attracting talent, while other companies are also doing the same thing, is retaining talent. Because it's about those who are already here working with us that get incredible offers from other countries. That is the biggest problem, how to retain people more than how to hire them.
Okay, that's a very interesting point, and we'll get back to there in a moment. Cassian, your take on this globalization of tech work impact on salaries and competitivity for attracting people?
Yeah, we are an agency, right? So we cater for a different type of public than Isabel and Anna to a certain extent, or Anna potentially a software house, the focus on product development there as well. But I see this in a positive light. Right? Why? Because we're providing a better environment for the growth of the engineers, the techies, worldwide, right? But also it means that us as a company and us as Beyond, as a TBLX and OutSystem, we need to step up, again to attract talent. So we need to become better companies. We need to become companies that deliver exciting, challenging work, because ultimately this is what engineers want. They want really interesting problems to solve, to sink their teeth into. And yeah, there's a strong element around remuneration, the package itself. But I would say there's this, it's about what type of work happens coupled with remuneration. And to wrap up on my thoughts here, flexibility, right? This is key in order for you to be able to firstly attract, provide great opportunities, quality of life, and it also then helps you retain talent, right? So the right level of flexibility for me is one thing, for my director of technology, for my tech leads, for my front-end engineers and back-end, they're all different, right? And we need to cater for them in different ways. So that's it. So remuneration, yes, interesting projects, but also flexibility help us maybe stave off the pressure from the competition overseas.
Yeah, but there is always in some way a mix of factors, right, that you have to factor in to make the equation work. And obviously they need to be different for different types of people, because everyone is different, right? But one of the things, for example, that I see more and more, and again, I'm focused in Portugal because it's the market I know best, but I think that it's kind of widespread. There are still a lot of people working for traditional companies. When I say traditional companies, it's like the big companies, the big monopolies, the public government, etc., that still has a lot of great tech talent there, and I know that these people sometimes they have some reservations about changing their lives, because humans look for better things, but they also look for stability. But again, so the thing is, I think a bit of what is the challenge and what's the sustainability of the challenge that you're able to provide them, mixing salary and challenge and quality of life and flexibility and the whole thing. I think that's very, very interesting. Regarding retention, and I'm grabbing on Isabel's topic, what do you think that in this world where the market was, I think, not as hot as this ever. And I'm in IT since 1999, you know. So, but things are really getting the balance between supply and demand. It's crazy right now, and it's growing. It's spreading itself apart as we talk. The challenges for retention are huge, and it does not begin only in the attraction of talent and closing deals with talent, but also how do you prevent talent from leaving your company in 6 months? And I think that will go a lot for the thing that we have already spoken, but it's different because, well, you have, I would say, I'm a computer science engineer myself. You always will have the mercenaries, you know, the guys that go 6 months in each side, and probably at some point they will lose. You have the very stable persons. For example, one of the things that we are also gathering in this report that we are doing is that the older people get, the more stable they get. The more children they have, the more stable they get, which I think it's kind of okay. That makes completely sense, but it's true. But this poses a lot of questions for people that are hiring, trying to build teams, you know, stable teams that obviously can last longer, you know, to gain the productivity gains that you have by people that are within the thing. What do you think are the main reasons for turnover nowadays?
Well, I can I dropped the bomb, so I think I'll start on that.
Yeah,
Um, we actually have, so at OutSystems we do exit interviews, so we know most of the times, hoping that people are honest when they leave. We know the reasons behind their decision, and surprisingly, only 3% of everyone who left last year left because of money. 3%.
interesting, very interesting.
We have numbers, right? And this means that throwing money at people won't always solve it, or almost never solve it. And Cassiano mentioned, like he said, a really important word, and I think it's flexibility. Um, when this whole thing started pandemic wise, we thought only millennials wanted flexibility, right? Only those crazy new folks want to work from the floor, at the beach. We no longer have that. We have older people that also like to go to the supermarket at lunchtime, and that want to get their hair done at 5 p.m. So everyone learned to enjoy some kind of flexibility. So right now, I think that we have a motto at OutSystems, and I think that this is the perfect way to see it. What works for you works for OutSystems. So as long as our coworkers are happy, the company's happy, right? I worked from the beach last year. I was like under one of those beautiful umbrellas in Costa da Caparica having meetings, and everyone saw me, like I had sand in the background, right? And it was not a fake background, and no one ever mentioned that to me, because it's normal. But it has to be normal. We cannot force it. We cannot force flexibility, or we cannot force diversity. And this is getting more and more into people's minds, right? Diverse companies, flexible companies, you work when you have to, when your load makes you work, not when your timetable makes you work. And I think that this is super important, much more than money at this time, because as you said, Pedro, now everyone can hire anywhere, so we cannot go with money. It doesn't work anymore. We have to go with strong company culture. We have to go with adapting to every one of our employees in the limits of the reasonable, of course. But we need to pay attention to people's needs, and those needs are almost never only money.
Yeah.
Let me just increase the abstraction level of the question, and I want to share this for everyone, and not just you, Isabel, which is I run a lot of IT units in my time, you know, and one of the things that I at that time felt that make people more resilient and more less prone to, you know, defecting was the team spirit, you know, the way that people felt in some way with their colleagues, not like a family. I'm not really into that kumbaya shit of family and etc, but but the thing about really feeling that they make part of something,
Yeah,
not necessarily
belonging.
as belonging, not necessarily something to replace their life, but something that's really in terms of work. And it's kind of different right now, and it's a challenge in this remote works time to be able to get it. It's not impossible, far from that, but there are some challenges. So I want to add to the retention and turnover question also to add this extra level of deepness. How do you see this thing about belonging nowadays? And I'll please continue, Isabel, and then we'll get to Cassiano and Anna.
Sure. I actually, the word came easily to my mind
Yeah,
because
I noticed.
we're having a workshop on that next week. Belonging is super important, and when you belong, there might be a lot of stuff, right? You might feel that you have enough impact, that you feel supported, that your opinions matter. It means that you identify with the people you work with. So this is a very multi-dimensional concept, right? What is this of belonging? There's that saying that people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. And oh my God, that is completely true. They also leave bad teams. And the only way we can work on this is making sure that when we hire people, we already know what kind of group they will create around them or how they will fit the group that already exists. And we cannot only think about that specific team that is hiring right now, because it changes every PI here at OutSystems. Teams change a lot. Like João works with Mark, and then Mark no longer works with João. And we need to make sure that all of these people, with all of their differences and all of their different cultural backgrounds, they will still manage to fit on a lot of different teams. So I think that the feeling of belonging is certainly important, because when we talk about, so we can talk about IT, engineering, we talk about tech roles, and this is a very hot market. We all know that. Everyone here knows this, right? But at the end of the day, and sorry if I'm being poetic now, we're all people.
Please
All
be.
we want is to feel attached to something, right? Feel important. If it's either our family and not the kumbaya family, thank you, Pedro. I have my own family at home, thank you. I don't need the family because it will be just one more divorce when I have to. So it's okay. But I think that we still need to feel, so we need to feel comfortable, we need to feel safe. And safe is also, I think, an important word here for the belonging concept, right? So you have impact, you have safety, you have comfort. And like, how hard is it to create this kind of environment in remote teams? Well, this depends on not only the manager, let's not blame the manager for everything, but the team itself, right? We all have a part on this. So there's no magical solution, no incredible formula to achieve this. But I think that if everyone is aware that they all can do something to add to the to their team, do it gladly.
Okay, cool. Sometimes you have some, lags in your communication, but I think we all
It's my
understand.
hotspot. My internet was already bad enough. I'm working with my hotspot. Sorry, guys.
It's working fairly well. Cassian, can you go next?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that point that you mentioned, that the retention is, for us, it's actually made up of a few areas. So the first one is around that novelty, that curiosity, that inquisitive nature of humans, right? Which, you said that when people get older, they have kids, they are more stable, they don't want that. I remain that same boy that I was 18, at 18 years old. I want to learn new things and I want to make it better, right? So this is an important part of retention, right? It's just ensuring that we are growing, so that growth mindset is important for us to disseminate across our teams. right? But you're quite rightly, we're all social creatures to various degrees. Right? There are some that are extroverts that like to be on the spotlight at all times and connect on a daily basis with people, and others less so. Right, more introverts. They like to maybe contribute in a different way, not less or more, but in a different way. And we need to cater for that. Ultimately, yeah, that belonging feeling needs to also adapt to those needs. And the way that we're trying to ensure that we have a healthy balance of that at Beyond is that we established hubs. So we have the Portugal hub, which is we're based at the Palácio Sotomayor. We are here in Bermondsey in London, so our hub in London or in the UK is here, and we have in New York and in San Francisco. So we have these congregation points in which people can come together whenever they need for that human touch, if they so desire. Right, but it's not mandated. It's again that flexibility. I always go back to that because we need to cater for people's needs. Ultimately, is that belonging that needs to exist, that engagement with the company, with your colleagues, that needs to take the shape that works for the company, for the team, and ultimately for the profession that's working with us.
Great. Thank you, Cassiano. Anna, your take on this, please.
Yes. So my focus is more acquisition rather than retention. But in our people team, we discuss all the topics, and retention is a big topic as much as is acquisition. One of the many things that we did to make sure that we retain our employees is to continue to have our people-centric approach. And when I say people-centric approach, is more than it's usually said. It's really get to know our employees individual and understand their needs, their motivations. As Cassiano was saying, there are people that are more introverted, people that are more extroverted, and this is something that is very important for us to make sure that every employee that works at TBLX knows that the people team, the leadership team, we got their backs, and this is one of the ways we retain our employees. And actually, like 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with Sarah because I was having a conversation with a colleague on how difficult is for me sometimes to share with candidates, for example, when they ask me, why do you like to work at TBLX and so on. It's very difficult for me to share with them this because it always comes like, we are a family, we are so happy like a family, and I can't like transmit because we really have a really good culture here, and it's not a family, we are co-workers, and that we enjoy a lot to work with each other. We have adapted our culture on the office to a hybrid culture. We still have our events. We just had our spring event 2 weeks ago, and it's amazing to see that after 2 or 3 months that we didn't saw each other face to face. When we go to these events, it's amazing to see how we still have this connection, and we still know that this person has 2 kids, and this person got married 2 months ago, and we still have topics to discuss rather than work. And for retention, I could spend the whole afternoon here saying what we are doing for, and I believe everyone here could do the same. But it's really having a centric approach on people, and also the people that left TBLX in the past 2 years. It's always said, of course, but we always had the feeling that we did everything possible to retain this person, and this was out of our hands. And it's also good to have this feeling that we do everything for our employees, and if they decide to leave, there wasn't much that we could do. And yeah, I think that's my take on the topic.
Yeah, that's very interesting. The part about gathering people from time to time, even though they work remotely most of the time, and then watching the reactions. We ourselves, we just got Landing.Jobs team from Morocco, and we are also distributed team, and everyone that didn't know themselves from Nigeria, Romania, Brazil, Portugal, of course, all places. It was great to have people together, and it was really helpful to create some bonds at topics that are not so easy to build in a fully remote work setup. One of the other questions, the next question I want to ask you is about not just remote work, but about relocation. So obviously the need that companies have nowadays of tech talent make them look cross borders, not just in Europe, for example, but also to other continents. I don't know what's your company's policy on this, but I wanted to ask your personal, at least personal opinion about the thing of, for example, hiring people from Latin America, South America, Africa, Middle East, even Asia. And I know that, for example, Isabel, you have the APAC experience, right? So it's very interesting to know your take on this. But this thing about the real globalization that also includes the movement of people from different places, how do you see this as a real or not way to really cater for the needs that companies have? And what's your take on this? Because one thing is, okay, I'm in Argentina or in Bangladesh or in Nigeria or in Iran and I'm working remotely. It's a thing. Another thing is, okay, now let's move these people to a nearby place, for example, Portugal or Spain, let's imagine, or Spanish people for other places. How do you see this? In general terms, no need to be very objective or directive here.
Yeah.
Anna, let's start by you again.
Okay, great. So for TBLX, relocation has been something since the beginning of the company, and even before the pandemic and this heated market, we relocated some people here in Portugal. So it's something that was always part of our situation. My take and my personal take in this is that when I'm screening a CV, probably the nationality of the person or the place where the person is in is one of the last things that I notice on the CV, because it's also the least important. There are other things that are more important for me, and we are open to relocate and to hire people from all around the world. Of course, that this is a process, and we all know how processes work here in Portugal. So usually it will take more time. And if you have high priorities to hire, we should consider it as well. But we hire for soft skills and a little bit of hard skills, rather than if the person is going to take 3 or 4 months to join. And as for now, we have a lot of people from other countries, as you were saying, Iran, and not United States, but Asia and India and so on, in our pipeline, and we are very happy to be able to have this so diverse pipeline, because having people from other countries also brings a thing that is very good, which is the contact with all the other cultures. And every person that we contact from other culture or a different background, someone that lives in Cascais, for example, it's a learning, and you get to learn different things from other people. And for me, that I'm not a people person, I'm from humanities, from social sciences. I really like to get to know other cultures and other backgrounds. So it's always a pleasure to relocate people here in Portugal.
Great. Cassiano, how about that?
Yeah,
You're a Brazilian guy making an international career, right? As a CTO and probably other roles before that. So I think that it's very interesting to have your take on this.
Yeah, olá a todos os brasileiros também presentes na ligação. So I think it's interesting to go through this, because I did precisely that. So at a moment in time of my life, I realized that Brazil is a fantastic place, but I wanted to take flight and experience new things. I think you can only do so much of that if you work remotely, right? So I think there's the motivation behind. There are some people that are more risk prone, are more adventurous, and this is something important for them to have that experience. And then at that, for those individuals, then the relocation is the best support, right? You bring them to not only contribute to your project, to the company, the great work that you're going to do together, but they also have a different experience. But then you have the other people that they are happy where they are. They just want to have the contact with the wider world, but potentially they're not as adventurous. And then you can support that as well. In my case, it was all about this. I want to experiment. I want to experience new things, and I made my way from from Brazil to the UK, and then stayed in the UK for 14 years, and these days for 18 months. I've been in Oeiras, outskirts of Lisbon, then building a fantastic team. We have 16 people with us already. And for us, just to wrap up my part here, is that we found extremely competent people in Portugal, right? Very good English as well, because English is the main language for our company. It's the primary language for our company, although we're considering potentially supporting other languages in the future. But Portugal was a start for us. So we do have a few people in Spain these days. And we also have some people in Poland and Hungary, if I'm not mistaken. Right, so it's the start, and we have not then needed to do a lot of relocation to this date, but inevitably we will. So much so that a couple of weeks back then I was discussing precisely this with Landing. So how can Landing support us in that? Because they've done that a number of times, and they know their craft, and therefore they'll help us then realize those relocations when the right time comes.
Okay, right. Thank you, Cassian. Isabel, what about you? You're international, very international company, Portuguese company, OutSystems. So that's really very interesting to know your experience as a company about all these matters, because you are in the middle of it, right?
Yeah. Well, we are firm believers in stay locate, not relocate. We believe that we can hire pretty much everywhere in the world, pretty much. There are some countries where we cannot hire. But you know this, Pedro. You have OutSystems people in Brazil. You have one of my people in Brussels. Landing has supported us with so many hires in the original countries. So we try as much as possible relocation. I've relocated once. I moved to the UK as well. Wow, what an amazing experience. Fantastic. Yeah, but you miss your family. You don't know how to go to the subway. You don't know which way the bus goes. And it's really cool if you're a teenager and you want to go with a backpack and like take a train through Europe. Not when you have a family. So unless the person clearly tells us that they want to move to a specific country, we try as much as possible to have our people where they live. They will still have the global experience. They will still work with people from all over the world. They will still work for a different company. They just don't have to move with their family. They don't have to, like, we have a lot of people with Landing in Brazil. Why should, like, unless people say I want to go to Portugal anyway, or to the UK anyway, or to, well, the US is a completely different story because of visa, but unless the person clearly tells us we're not supporters of relocation, just because, no, we have so many offices. We've done such an amazing job in like spreading our teams around the globe that relocation doesn't really make sense.
I understand, because global presence allows you to do that. And that's really great. But do you have cases where people really, because, for example, in this survey that we are now preparing the report based upon, there are people that they really want to go to another continent, for example. Do you have such cases, even though you have a global experience? And I understand completely, because you're able to provide those experiences locally. But do you have people asking, okay, no, but I really want, I don't know, from Africa, South America, Asia, I want to go to Europe, for example. Do you have these kinds of cases?
We do. We have people moving from Portugal to France and the UK for family reasons. We had one case last week from someone who's in Moldova and wants to relocate to the Netherlands for obvious reasons, unfortunately. We have some of those cases. We try to, if the people are already in-house, so if they're already OutSystems employees, we try to as much as we can. It also involves budget, especially if the person is going from Portugal to another country, higher salaries, because we have different salary bands for different countries, of course. But if it's a specific candidate, Right now, I have someone from Finland wanting to come to Lisbon. And okay, like if I was in Finland, I'd probably want to come to Lisbon as well. But we just need to make sure that the person understands what it entails, what a relocation entails. So you need to look for an apartment. We do not support that. You need to be aware that salaries are much higher in Portugal than in Finland. Okay, it's
Lower,
not our,
lower. It would be good if they were higher.
yeah, exactly, much lower than in Finland. So sorry for that. So there's a lot of things that we need to make sure people understand before we accept the relocation request. And well, if people are comfortable with that, so are we. We don't have any like issues with hiring people outside of their countries if that's what the person wants.
Okay, cool. One question, because we have people that are not just from Europe, and that's very interesting. And one of the things, for example, that we at Landing.Jobs have been facing lately is this kind of cognitive dissonance between what some companies, and obviously this says some companies, it's a sample, say that we are looking for talent everywhere in the world. But then, for example, we start working a lot with Nigeria. It's a great country with lots of tech talent, lots of people. But in the end, when we look at the numbers of the application pipelines and their success, what companies say that they really are looking for is not really what they are doing. So my question is, do you think that there might be, among this globalization of tech work, still some kind of prejudice, some kind of risk that is subjectively felt and that impacts this regarding really going for talent wherever it is? This is obviously a very subjective question, and again, I'm basing this a bit on the numbers that we have, because we work with companies from mostly Europe, but talent from everywhere. But it's very interesting to understand these dynamics, and you are professionals in your companies on this tech talent people. What do you think about this? This is a more, I don't know, subjective question, but I think it's very relevant for people hearing us.
I think this is a really good topic.
Sorry,
no, it's really quick. I think this is a really good topic for another talk, because I also could spend the whole afternoon talking about it. But when it's my time, I will try to make it short. So, Cassian, go ahead.
I think that beyond we have a strong focus on diversity and ensuring that we have representation from all sorts of parts of society, communities. It's important. So one way is precisely this: sourcing people, attracting people from the four corners of the world. What we have found, though, is that these countries, they have they are focused on, there's more availability of professionals on specific types of technologies. Mm-hmm. For instance, we work with Google. Google is one of our main clients, and there's a lot of Python involved in that. And I won't even go down the route of Africa, even Portugal, to find a Python backend developer in Portugal is a harder than usual task there. So I think there's an element as well, and potentially, I don't understand what Nigeria can offer me in terms of stack and capabilities fully. So a little bit of more knowledge that is required from my side. And I remember interviewing some people from Africa. I don't remember exactly if it was from Nigeria, because precisely this: let's explore the world, let's see where people are, what can they bring for this much broader view of the world and the creation of these products. But what I had was, as I touched at the very start of the convo here, around infrastructure. So I had some good people talking to me, but the call, I couldn't actually understand the person, the connectivity. They were at a place where potentially they weren't as comfortable talking to me as well. So I think there's an element of this. There's the underlying technology and infrastructure that we need to help that part of the world grow. And also just understanding what is the sweet spot for that part of the world. Is it Python? Is it .NET? Is it LAMP? Is it that knowledge that we need as a company to acquire?
It's very interesting, that take on the infrastructure, because, well, unfortunately, it still happens, right? Yeah. Anna or Isabel, what do you think about this?
Well, I agree with Cassiano. So for in some countries, there's the infrastructure problem. I can talk about my experience, and I won't mention the country because I don't want to hurt anyone that might be here. But it's an European country, so infrastructure shouldn't be a problem. And the thing is, their school systems, their universities are so still back there in 1980 that when we get to candidates, they do not have the qualification we're looking for. They work with legacy technology. They're not used to, like, agile or scrum are like void concepts for them. So it is amazing. Like, it's a beautiful thing to talk about globalization and how we can hire from anywhere. But we need to understand that the world is not all at the same level of technological development. I won't talk about Nigeria because I have no experience there.
Just a case, just a random country, you know.
But it's okay. Like in India, we have an amazing hub of people. Like, they're so good, and we actually opened an office last October. So, and it's going incredibly well. But still, Europe, that specific country, oh my God, I was a better engineer than my candidates. And it's so weird, right? Because I come from political science. So it was super weird to understand how dated some universities are, like how they haven't evolved yet, how they are still stuck in, and I'm so sorry because this is a very touchy subject at the moment, in a Soviet way of doing things.
Yeah.
So no, we cannot hire everywhere, at least not all talent.
Okay. Anna, your take on this, and will be the last one because we need to close afterwards. But
okay, I will try to be quick. So in the TBLX's case, when we say relocation, it's because we can only relocate people. We don't have people working remotely from other countries, and people should have a NIF and a home address in Portugal to be able to sign a contract with us. So taking this into consideration, of course, in my experience interviewing candidates, I also noticed some people from some countries with different where the setup wasn't as we are used to, but for us that's not really a problem because this person is to come to Portugal and work with our tools in the future. So here we have different realities. So I'm going to talk about our reality. And in the beginning, I mentioned that the nationality or the place where the people is from is one of the last things I notice in a CV. It's an issue because, as we know, and as I said, the processes are very long, and it can mean that we wouldn't be able to close the high priority vacancy with someone that would take 6 months, for example, to come to Portugal. But I think that, and it's difficult also with the market that we have, and TBLX has 80 employees, and I can only imagine companies that have 800 or 8,000 employees. You can't do thoughtful screening through all CVs that you receive. So you have to work with your experience to know when a good CV is good, just for looking from the first page. And we would all be lying here if we said that we screen every CV every time with the very thoughtfully. But when it comes to relocations from other countries, we receive very interesting CVs. When the CV is very interesting, we don't care about where the person is coming from. We want to meet the person if we are curious about the person, and we will do everything that we can to make sure if the candidate ends up as a strong hire, to relocate them and to bring them to TBLX. And this is my take, and also the TBLX's case, which is different from Cassiano and Isabella, of course.
Of course. No, everyone being different contexts is obviously very interesting because that's increased the value that people take out of this.
Of course.
Anna, Isabel, Cassiano, Thanks very much for being with us. I really hope with everyone that is watching this webinar that this has been interesting for you. A lot of the topics, as Anna said, that we have talked about yesterday could ramify into afternoons, mornings, days of discussion and debate. It would be very much more interesting if it was more participated, but the time is really scarce and the topic is ample. So thank you, each and every one of us, to being available to be here today. Please, you have our contacts in the chat. Reach us if we can help you with anything else. And we really hope to be seeing you with the ambulance. This is being in the middle of the city. It's all it's about. But thank you, and I really hope to see you in next editions of our webinars. Well, anything we can try to help to increase the globalization of tech work, we are here. But a lot of that role is also up to all of you that are watching us. If you really are considering going remote or working for another company, don't hesitate. And if you have any questions, I'm sure that every one of these companies, OutSystems, TBLX, and beyond will be really happy to have your CV in their hands and consider you as a candidate for their own companies. Have a great day. For the ones that are Christian, a great Easter, and really hope to seeing you in a short time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.